Mom and Dad, are you ready?
Today's word is stupendous.
You need some encouragement.
Stupendous marriage encouragement.
You need some inspiration.
You're listening to the Stupendous Marriage Show
with our friends Stu and Lisa Gray.
Irma loves that word, stupendous.
The Stupendous Marriage Show.
Hi there, this is the Stupendous Marriage Show. I'm Stu Gray.
Hey, I'm Lisa Gray.
154, 154.
Whoop, whoop. How are you, babe? You were in deep thought for a second there. Are you all right?
I was thinking we're going to burn down the house.
Well, this is the first time since we're back that we are recording and the sun is out and our dinner's cooking in the oven.
So we're like, can we record something while the salmon is cooking? So I'm anxiously just thinking the stove's going to catch on fire. So we're upstairs, it's downstairs. I think we'll probably be okay, but maybe not. So I'm just hopeful that we'll be okay.
I think that we will be completely fine as long as we start smelling good things and not bad things. I think we're okay.
And we had issues with that. You know, we were like in the kitchen, we were working together, trying to put this recipe together, some video that we've seen on Tasty, and we've actually kept it. We've done it several times since several years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get out the garlic and you're like, that smells horrible. Redo that whole thing. And I melted the butter. And so I had to redo the butter and redo the garlic. And this is how I do it. And okay.
It was funny because, you know, last week we just talked about taking offense.
I know. And I told you I wasn't offended. I was just bummed that I'd done all this work. And you're like, no.
I don't know what it was. Something just smelled off. And we've been trying all these new recipes because we've been doing a different type of eating, doing keto type eating. And so just the other night, there was a recipe that you tried. And I don't know if it was because it was a different cheese or what it was, but we both agreed that it just was not good. We were both like, oh, I can't eat this. And so when I smelled that tonight, something about the smell, I was like, okay, imagining it on the salmon. Yeah, that doesn't smell good. So I wanted to stop you before you put it on there and just do a restart. And it worked great.
Absolutely did. Thank you.
Of course, we haven't eaten it yet, so we'll let you know next week how it goes.
Yeah, sure.
You know, last week, in the conversation about offense and taking offense, we were talking about the self-talk in our head. And it's so interesting because I've thought about that several times over the past week.
Have you been talking to yourself in your head about that?
I've been talking to myself.
See how I did that?
So I did some coaching a couple years ago, and they have you do daily affirmations where every day in the morning and before you go to bed, you have these affirmations that you read out loud to yourself, and they're supposed to help build your confidence and believe the things that you want to believe about your world, right?
That was business related,
That
right?
was business related. But just the other day, I kind of caught myself feeling a little anxious and fearful about a situation, and I just, like out of nowhere, said, you know what? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can get through this. This is okay. I have a clear mind. And it was like that anxious and fearful feelings just deflated completely. And so that got me thinking about, again, a lot of times the self-talk that we have going on in our head, how do we get better about that?
I wish I could do that. I mean, I know Bible verses, and I tried to get myself out of bad thinking and stinky thinking, and I don't do that well. I don't know how in my life, and if I've just been so negatively trained myself, you know what I mean? Like, nobody else has done it, but myself in my own mind, to speak negatively and, oh, this is not good and blah, blah, blah. And so the train just starts going.
Yeah.
And it's just a bad spiral downwards. Even reciting Bible verses and things like that in my head and having index cards full of Bible verses that I can carry around and look at. I would love for that to be more helpful for me. And I haven't easily found anything that gets me out of negative self-talk very easily, other than journaling. So I can sit down and write out my crappy thoughts, and this is horrible, blah, 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 blah. And then after I've dumped it onto a piece of paper, I go, oh, well, that's interesting. And I hadn't thought about that literally till just now. And that is pretty helpful for me in my life. You know, I can dump all that stuff out and it comes out through me physically more than see, and that's really interesting because we're so different. And you're more of an oral listener person. You hear
Right.
things and you get, you connect your outside processor, and I am an internal processor. And what do I like to do? I like to sit there and write things. And it comes out of me that way. That's really interesting. Wow, thank you for that 5 minutes of therapy. I really appreciate what you did.
You're welcome,
I don't think you
honey.
did anything, but thank you for that.
Hey. Well, I was going to say the other times that I've seen you get out of your head is when you process it out loud. When you are able to stop and go, okay, I'm having some really poor thinking. I need to talk. And you talk to me or you talk to a
Sure.
friend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Man, it turns around really fast for you because most times, just like what you just did was a perfect illustration of that. You think about it out loud, and the next thing you know, you draw your own conclusions without the other person even saying anything. So I am so glad that I could help you in this way today, honey. I know it was a lot of work for me, but I can make the sacrifice. But listen, seriously, if you process internally and you have a great suggestion for Stu, I know that you would love to hear what other people who are internal processors do. And just see, you never know what might click for you, or if somebody's listening that your idea might click for them.
Oh, yeah, we'll share some of those if you do share with us on air at stupendousmarriage.com. We also have the new question line, and you can call it. Leave us your thoughts there, too. 1-615-592-1060. 1-615-592-1060. We'll get to our email for today coming up. Here's our email for today from onair at stupendousmarriage.com. Hey, Stu and Lisa, I'm a new subscriber. I really struggle with respecting my husband. He is a vacillator and demands respect. He makes decisions and deals with my children without consulting me. I prefer to be more understanding with my kids, and as they are 10 and 12, I know how important communication and picking your battles is. He was raised with a very strict hand, whereas mine was more authoritative and fair. To be honest, I find him unreasonable and demanding most of the time, and almost impossible to respect. I'm the primary income earner in my house. He has a struggling business. Honestly, I'm at my wit's end because I really do think he needs to be more realistic and get a job that will better contribute to our family needs. He works hard for little reward. It's hard on me because I work full-time, do most of the cooking, cleaning, child rearing on the weekends while he works. I've tried everything. Honestly, I think he's actively pushing me away, waiting for me to pull the trigger on our 15-year marriage. Any suggestion how I can untangle this knot?
There were a couple things as you're reading that I really keyed into. First and foremost, if you guys are not in counseling, I would probably suggest that. When you come into a marriage or you're in a marriage where something major, a major piece of your life, let's say it's finances, let's say it's intimacy, how to raise your children, and you're coming from such different perspectives, and chances are it's their history and the way they were raised, I think you've got to unpack that. You and I have always talked about we came into our relationship with really different ways of thinking about money. And one of the best things we ever accidentally did early in our relationship was we got on the same page about how we look at money, right? And so I think first and foremost, they really need to think about seeing a counselor together so that they can start to process what is the best way to raise the kids and discipline the kids. Because she mentioned that the most. I know there's a lot of other things going on, but I really think that that would be the first step.
No, I think that's a good first step. And there are a couple things in here, just like themes that she was mentioning. Obviously, she talked about kids. She talked about the business angle and then his kind of strict heavy-handedness. And the word that got me was, and I just kind of breezed by it, but he makes decisions and deals with my children without consulting me. And now that might be previous marriage.
Right.
I don't know. But if it's not, I mean, are they just your kids?
Right. Oh, and I literally thought the same thing. That was going to be the next thing I was going to say. Are the kids, even if they were from a previous marriage, if they're now husband and wife, those kiddos should be their kids.
Right.
They should be treated like they're their kids and not hers or his.
Sure, you definitely have to work on your marriage, your relationship with your husband before you think about your kids for sure, but that whole mine and his and mine and his mentality is a problem. And I see it kind of through each of these things that you've mentioned in this email. My work versus his work. And I do this way and he does this way. And have you sat down and talked to each other about how you want to raise your kids? Have you sat down and talked to each other about how you want to do business and life? And you sound like you work a lot and you've been successful there. Would he be willing to hear from you? You said he's heavy-handed, strict, and things along those lines. Have you asked him why that is? Have you asked him, where does that come from? Have you really taken time to get to know him, to be a student of your husband, and maybe get behind why he's behaving the way he is? Why does he really need to keep working on this business that isn't making as much money as you think it should? What does it mean to him? What does the business mean to him? Why does he keep at it so hard? I mean, is it just because he feels like he needs to work, or is there something in his core that goes, man, this is really what I'm about. I'm finally going to make it sometime. I don't know.
Life is busy. If she's working full time, trying to raise the kids, trying to tag in to take care of everything when he's working on the weekends, I can understand why there probably hasn't been time to really spend time thinking about what her husband's trying to communicate in his actions. What's the core of it? What's really going on? Is it that he's having insecurities, which might be the case because he's not providing as much as you are. And so those insecurities can manifest themselves in someone being dominating, trying to dominate in other areas because they don't feel like they are really pulling their weight in the financial side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what's going on? What's the core of it? And then what's the history behind the strictness? I know when we were together early on, there was some things that you did that once we were able to unpack why you did it, we realized it actually came from your upbringing.
Sure.
And what it did by me understanding where it came from is it made me have more grace for you and understanding that you're not trying to be mean, right? You are acting out of the way you were raised. And it was enabled me to be able to give you more grace. And then I think it really enabled you to go, hey, I don't want to continue to be that way. So what can I do to work on me to maybe change the way I'm reacting? And so what is the core of why he's so strict, why he's so dominating, and really thinking about that more, I think would be so great for you guys.
Yeah, don't be suspicious about I think he's just waiting to pull the trigger on our 15-year marriage. That just may be a cop-out because you can move closer to him. I mean, the goal of marriage is becoming one flesh. The goal of marriage is intimate friendship. The goal of marriage is being on the same page and, creating something together. So you start moving in that direction towards him. I think that would be a good thing, being more interested in him and maybe less harsh and demanding because, these feelings probably come out in your words and your actions towards him. And you guys get in your own unique broken dance of your marriage. And that's how it kind of plays out. The goal is connection, not disconnection. You're either moving towards being connected with him or you're moving towards being disconnected. Since you have sent this email to us, hopefully, and it sounds like your heart is to be more connected with him.
Yeah.
Move in that direction towards him with less anger, less expectation.
Right, yeah. And what is that movie Kirk Cameron's in?
Love Dare?
The Love Dare. That kept popping in my head while you were talking that, taking some steps to love him in spite of, right? So love him in spite of disagreeing with how he is with the kids. Love him in spite of what's going on with his business. And really just showing him daily love over a period of time and being intentional with that. Even when you don't feel like it. Sometimes I'll get up in the morning and I just do not feel like I'm pretty. I don't feel like my hair's looking good and my makeup's looking good and I can't find anything to wear. And I will literally sometimes get myself ready and dress up to how I want to feel. So I'll put on something fancier than I normally would and fix my hair better than I normally would And before I know it, in my day, as I go about my day, I start feeling better about myself and more confident about myself. And it's like my feelings catch up with what I want to feel like. Does that make sense? And so even though in the moment right now you may be really frustrated and it sounds like you have a great reasons that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of choices that he's making that are definitely understandable why you would be so frustrated with him. But instead of acting out of that place of frustration, just acting out of, you know what? I want to connect with him more than I'm going to be offended. And I'm going to be intentional no matter what he does to try to love him well during this season. And I think you might really start to see a change.
It's not about not having those conversations, because you should have those conversations about your kids, about the business, about, how much you work versus how much he doesn't. You need to have those conversations, but pouring the love on doesn't negate having those conversations.
Right.
But it's that balance of figuring out which right now is most needed.
Yeah. Well, and what I originally said was going to a counselor, I think would be amazing. And if he won't go, even just going for yourself, having somewhere to process how you're feeling, what's going on, to be able to gain tools, to be able to have better conversations. That's the whole thing. It's like, we've talked about this in previous shows. There's not a win or lose here in marriage. It should be a win-win. We should walk away from discussions and feel like we both are winning. Even if we didn't get what we want, we're both winning. And hopefully you guys can kind of have that mindset a little bit more, then your conversations are going to be more productive.
We appreciate your email. Thank you so much for that. You can send us yours on air at stupendousmarriage.com. The new number, 1-615-592-1060. Hey, we want you guys to be part of the show. We want you to tell your friends about the Stupendous Marriage Show. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast in your favorite podcast app. We would appreciate that.
Please check out iTunes and rate us there.
And we appreciate the review from SMTCR. So glad to hear that you're back. Love to hear your marriage advice. Well, thank you so much. We do appreciate that. And again, iTunes, hunt for the Stupendous Marriage Show. You should be able to find us there. Talk to you next time.
See ya. Yeah.
Like the show.
Yeehaw.
Share the podcast. Tell another couple.
Hold on. Hold up.
I do not see any levels. Hello.
Levels. I'm so glad I could help for you today. And I would love to hear if you're...
Stop. Hold the word. Come on, brain. Yeah. That was your end? Sorry.
Levels. Do you see levels now?
I do.
Okay, let's start over. Yeah.
Like the show. Share the podcast. Tell your married friends.